in the past, or in particular last year, they weren't winning these ugly games. They weren't finding ways to win these when offense wasn't playing well or defense wasn't playing well. You didn't see the other unit pick up the slack. Whereas this year, we've seen 2 games now in instances where both sides of the ball have had lapses, but the other side has been able to pick them up. And I thought yesterday was a prime example of that. I thought that, man, watching the offense, at times they looked explosive, at times they looked kind of stagnant. And then on defense, at times the defense looked dominant, and then at times the defense was getting gashed. But I felt like they all operated in concert. So if the offense was slacking, the defense picked it up. If the defense was slacking, the offense picked it up. If both sides were slacking, special teams picked it up. To me, that's the mark of a good team. That's the mark of championship football. I think of the year we went to the AFC Championship game in 2017. There were, in 2016, there were plenty of games that were ugly. There were plenty of games where if it was a backup quarterback, it looked like, man, they're in control, but it's still, you don't feel like they have it locked away, but we would find ways to win it. However it would work, we would find ways to get it done. That's what it looked like yesterday. Regardless of what was going on, it was like they're finding a way. They're good. Somebody's making a play every time. Even when a play goes against them or a call goes against them, they're finding ways to win. And for me, that's encouraging because I know you're not going to bank on Deontay Johnson continuing to have some mishaps with the ball, whether it's looking the ball in on passing plays or fumbling a jet sweep. You're not banking on that.
No.
You're not banking on Big Ben continuing to, okay, it's 6 seconds into the snap, instead of just throwing it away or taking a sack or running it, throwing it across to Juju. That's not going to happen consistently. You know what I mean? Like, or the Deontay Johnson punt return that got called back. When you look at the block in the back, it's a 50-50 call at best.
Dude, I didn't even see it because the announcer whenever I was rewatching it, I don't remember seeing it during the game, but as the refs announcing it, I think he said Cam Sutton, and I was looking at the replay. I didn't see anything, man. It looked like the dude flopped.
Well, this is the thing. When you're in that position, it's a technique that they teach, and Danny Snow teaches us all the time. Number one, it's called like scraping paint, right? So if that guy's in position like that, I'm not running up, putting my front of my jersey on the back of his jersey, because even if you don't touch him, the guy diving forward, whether he fell, tripped, or you bumped him, from an optic standpoint, the referee just sees the front of you and him falling forward. They're going to call that. It's no different. We talk about the NBA. You see James Harden. We're like, man, is that really a foul? It's like, dude, from the referee's vantage point, it looks like a foul. He's going to call it every time. That's why you teach a different technique with that. Or they say, okay, if you feel like your guy is beat, if your guy is within 3 yards of the ball on punt return, they tell you to put a foot in the ground, go find somebody else, because you're banking on your guy, your returner, being good enough that one guy's not going to tackle him. And those are some of the things that if you're Danny, so that's what he's telling Cam Sutton right now. Cam, did you hit him in the back? It doesn't matter. It looks bad. You put your hands up. That's another thing we always say: never put your hands up, because it makes you look guilty. The referee is going to look and say, well, he has his hands up. That guy's on the ground. Throw the flag. And it's that simple. So it's multiple things that could have been avoided in that. But either way, I still like that response to that. What did the offense do? The next play, the exact next play, bomb the Claypool. Yeah. So it's like everybody was working together at some point or fashion. And that's just the mark of quality football teams, of winning football teams. You're never going to be perfect. This just is what it is. And especially early in the year with no preseason. But how you respond to that adversity, that's why, for me, I was like, I'm super encouraged.
Another point you could bring up is the Benny Snell fumble. You're hoping, at least from the running backs, you're not getting that fumble consistently too at that time, because we were up 12. I know Ben had the pick, I think, coming right out of halftime. Yeah. They ended up kicking the field goal. We had a drive. It ended up going to 4th down. We didn't get it because he tossed it to Ebron.
Yeah.
I think the ref should have threw a flag there if they're calling some of that stuff on us. Keep it equal. I think they ended up scoring after that.
They did.
And that's when we had the Deontay. We were up 12. It was like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and that fumble. Like, I felt at that point, we did enough to win. Like, we've controlled this game all the way up to this point. That fumble was just really what killed us and got them kind of back in the game. So it goes back to what you're saying. I'm not counting on that happening every game. I definitely feel like we were in control. And like you said, there were lapses here and there, but as a total team effort, dude, I was really impressed. Like, as much as it was a really frustrating game, especially in that fourth quarter in the second half at times, to come away from that with a win, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really encouraged. Like you said, I was I didn't know what you were gonna say. If you were gonna say I'm discouraged about this,
No,
like there was too many
man.
lapses, whatever. But I feel really good. I feel good going forward that if we could come out of this instance with a win, how we played up and down, then man, because we're probably operating at like 60-70% of what we could be at.
Say, like, when we really get into the positives versus the negatives of the performance, we're going to see the positives are a lot bigger and they're a lot more positive than there are negatives. And the negatives, it's small details. It's nothing major. Last year we had major problems, and it's certain things that
where you're like, I don't know if we can fix this.
Right. This thing, if it's a personnel issue, you can't fix that.
Right.
If it's a detailing of your work issue, a fundamental or a technique thing, oh man, I will take technique issues over personal issues any day of the week. And any coach will tell you that. If you don't have the players, it doesn't matter how fundamentally sound this guy is. He's just not good enough. When you have the players, though, man, listen, we're going to coach this technique. You're going to get the technique right. And then from there, everything else takes care of itself. But initially, man, some of the things that I took away from the game that I thought were positive. Number one, once again, Ben, I thought he looked good moving throughout the pocket. I thought for the majority of the day, he was clean. In terms of his throws, he had a couple of bad throws. Obviously, the interception, that was probably the worst one, but he had a dropped interception by 23 in the end zone in the first half.
I don't know what's been going on, because there was a couple of them, like they were just ducks. I don't know if that's just lack of preseason, I don't know.
I think all of that kind of plays into it together, honestly. You're going to have some rest when you have a year away from the game, when you come back from a surgery. You're going to have some of that when you're playing on the fly. You're playing through the rust on the fly. You don't get the preseason games. We talked about in a normal offseason, Ben probably would have played a lot more in the preseason this year to knock all of that off. So I think that that's just a microcosm of that. But for the majority of the time, though, I thought that his touch looked great. I thought his arm strength looked great. I just thought that it was probably 2 to 3 throws where it was, you really don't need to force that. You really don't need to have to make that throw. It worked out on one, didn't work out on the other two. That's kind of how I thought of it.
I honestly think it was the 2 picks, and then there was one he tried to force in. I think it was to Snell or Connor.
No, Connor makes the catch.
No. There was one where it like ricocheted, and then Deontay. It was Deontay or Juju caught it.
Yeah, I remember that one as well. Yeah,
but all the other ones, the one was that overthrow to Ebron.
Are you talking about his incompletions?
Yeah, incompletions. And then
I'm not worried about his. I mean, because the overthrow to Ebron, you had a couple of drops in there,
batted balls. Yeah. So it was like, because I went through all this, and I thought Ben had a really good game. I didn't know exactly what you thought of it, but I thought it was a really solid game.
It was probably, like I said, it was 3 throws to me that stood out the most, and we just talked about them. The one that hit James, I think it was either James or Small, hit him on the shoulder, bounces off. Juju makes the diving catch. Great job, great awareness by him. And then
the 2 underthrows.
Yeah, the one pick to Simmons, and then the one to 23 where it hits him in the chest. Other than that, though, I thought it was pretty clean. So I love that. And this is the thing, Ben throwing still doesn't impress me like that, because I mean, we've seen him throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. We know that's what he has. What I'm impressed with right now, though, is how he's been able to, even with pressure in his face, he's still being very accurate. He's still not, I mean, outside of, like I said, the Juju pass, he's not really forcing the ball into double and triple coverage. That's the part, to me, that's been the most impressive so far. So if he can continue that, and we know with Ben, I mean, he's been historically a double-digit interception guy. If he can continue his good decision-making like he's been the first 2 games, that to me is going to be the biggest difference. Because in the past, it wouldn't have been just 1 pick. It would have been 2 picks or 3 picks like that. And then we're in a real dogfight for no reason. Ben, as long as he keeps cleaning that up, man, I think that, dude, he's going to do like just crazy stuff this year, because he has the weapons. Like Chase Claypool, that's my other positive, bro. Phenomenal, man. Like, it's one thing when you're making combat catches. It's one thing, to catch the combat catch or catch the open pass, but
close it out.
He's closing it out. I mean, you see once he caught it, how he was able to pull away from everyone.
It looked like he was tripping and he was still beating the guy.
Dude, like that, to me, that's the part where I'm just like, whoa. Deontay is still flashing. Deontay, man, that's the detail of the work. We're going to get to that. But with Deontay, when he does detail it and he gets the ball in his hands, he's electric. The punt return, bro, how many times have you seen him catch a pass 2 to 3 yards and he's making everyone miss,
I remember the one, I think we got a penalty. It was like 1st and 16. We did a little screen pass to him. He got the whole first down.
Yes, dude. Yes. That's his game, though, man. Like, when you watch him on film, when the ball is in his hands, the first defender tackling him is rare. I'm talking 1 out of 10 times. He's just that electric, and it's crazy to see that at the NFL level because this is the best of the best in terms of athletes, in terms of playing in space. But Deontay, he just has a natural feel and a natural ability to set plays up and make guys miss. I love it, man. He is just exciting to watch. And I thought Ebron played extremely well, man. Had a big time catch. He's starting to get a lot more comfortable in the offense. You can see that. He's another guy that the lack of preseason is taking up some time for him and Ben to build that rapport, but he's shown up in these first 2 games.
Absolutely.
And then the rookie, Kevin Dotson. Hey, man, gotta give him praise. It was some concerns about his ability to play, concerns about what he would look like in pass protection. I thought for the majority of the game, he was clean. He still has to clean up a little bit of the twist work in terms of just who we're passing it to in communication. But when the guys were lined up in front of him, man, if it was clear this is his guy. I thought he did a great job with that, man. I thought he did good in the running game as well. That's my initial response to what I saw from him. But overall, I thought he did really good. Stepped in a big way. Ben gave him the game ball, obviously, because his dad is a diehard fan. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But overall, man, I thought that Dotson did a really good job. We were confident in Okafor. We said Okafor had started before against Von Miller, one of the best to ever do it. And I thought Okafor played well for the majority of the game. But Dotson really stepped up because we know you never know what to expect with rookies, man. And especially how the O-line looked in week 1. I thought that they played a lot better in week 2 as well. So for me, I'm very encouraged by the offense, even though it was lapses where, it was times where it just seemed like it just couldn't get going. I still am very confident because they cleaned up a lot of the issues they had in week 1. Defensively, I thought they still are playing at a high level, man. They still got some stuff to clean up, but I thought TJ Watt, once again, he took care of business, man. You get him in a matchup like that. Yeah, he's one of those guys, dude.
I was surprised when I saw at the end 2.5 sacks. I can't even remember him. It was just like it was one of those things like, oh, Kevin Durant has 35 points.
Yeah, it's just like, oh,
it's a quiet game.
Normal. Yeah.
TJ 2.5 sacks. All right, yeah, I guess that happened. Well, I can't really remember.
And this is the thing too. Well, one of the sacks, it was down in the goal line, and
the dude slipped and he slipped. Fell on him.
But for me,
but that was because of TJ. He put his hand up.
But my thing was just the play before. I said, even if that was a gimme sack, the play before TJ earned it because he saved the touchdown. It was a miscommunication on the back end. The tight end is wide open on 1st and goal by himself in the end zone. But TJ beating the tight end the way he does, it makes him have to pump it and pull it down, and that changed everything. So when I see things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, TJ still doing what he does. Him and Bud Dupree though, boy. that tandem right now, Bud, 2 weeks in a row now, showing that last year wasn't a fluke, that he means business. And I just love the energy that those two guys play with, how they feed off of each other. Bro, they celebrate each other's plays like crazy. You love to see that type of stuff, man. So for me, I was definitely impressed with that, man. I thought that was good. And then your boy Edmonds, man. Edmonds balled, man. He looked good all game, man. I was very impressed with him, man.
Talk about penalties and stuff. The one that happened, I think, was it right before? I think it was the series before the last one where he got the sack.
Yeah,
where they gave him the first down. Dude, come on, give me a break. That wasn't. Yeah. Are you in agreement with me? That was a ticky-tack flag, man.
I'm with you, but this is my thing, man. I told you I don't get in the business of complaining about calls because
I can do that.
For every call that we complain about, I'm sure they got a list of calls that they can go over and say, well, what about that?
I think that was similar to the Ebron call, though. Like the no call, they should have called that. Just keep it consistent. That's all.
What's the point of losing sleep over referees? We can all point to plays on both sides in the game that benefit both sides, man. You complain about referees. To me, that's seeking comfort. We're looking for excuses.
The reason I say that is for the Edmonds naysayers. That's all. Because people might point to that and say, oh, his game wasn't as good because of that. Almost blew it.
This is my thing. People going.
I think it was a bad call.
Listen, people going to hate regardless. How many times we talk about Ben? We know Ben's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He still has haters. It is what it is. If you sit over here and you trying to get these naysayers, man, you gonna kill yourself, man, because they always gonna be there. Always. It just is what it is. Edmonds, we said last week Edmonds played well. We've thought that when you watched him on tape, the stuff that he was giving up, it was when it was in a clear zone and it was like, yo, this is the throw we want you to have. He tackles the catch. People are gonna have preconceived notions about him. It just is what it is. This game, man, we talked about it, man. He looked good in coverage, both man and zone. His tackling was good. I love the
nice pass defense. I think it was against Melvin Gordon on the outside.
In the red zone. Yeah. So when we look at that type of stuff, like that to me is growth. That to me is improvement. And then making the routine play. You know how many guys missed that sack that he had to win the game when you're coming by yourself because you're initially thinking, oh, all right, I'm by myself. No, and this is what you do. the closest route to the quarterback is what? His inside shoulder. Because, hey, it's 3 steps to get here, whereas if I go upfield, it's 5 steps. So 90% of the people, if I put you in that position, you're going to go to his inside shoulder. Trust me, professionals do it too. It happens a lot. And they miss the layup because when you come under like that, now the quarterback can step back, bubble around, step aside. We see Russell Wilson do it all the time. We see Ben do it all the time. We can go down the list. But he does the routine right. He goes upfield shoulder, even though it's extra steps, even though, okay, it's going to take me longer and he could potentially throw it. But what you're doing is securing the play because now that guy can't step up. He's stepping up to an offensive line. And now you're just closing down. It's easy to go 5 yards and come back that 1 or 2 yards. If you initially take that inside angle saying, oh, I'm going to get him right now, and he bubbles back, now he has all that sideline around you because you've lost contain. Stuff that people don't think about, but to me, I see him detailing his work, and that's why he was able to secure that play.
Close it.
It was beautiful, man. It was beautiful, and I was glad that it was him. Because we talked about it, man. We did a segment last week on Edmonds because we were like, man, people are going on him for no reason. So it was good to see, like, all right, thank you. Make the play. Shut everybody up. Thank you, please.
Now, do you have anything else on defense? Because I wanted to say a thing or two about the offense. And it was you talking about with Ben and just his throwing. Like, it was the stuff that we were talking about last week. A lot of quick passes, man. Yeah. A lot of quick passes. It was a la Brady and the Patriots just getting the ball out quick. Now, I think the offensive line did really well just for the most part. But I think we did mitigate that because of those quick throws, Ben getting it out fast. And I'm starting to think, dude, I know Connor didn't play bad. I don't think there was anything really wrong with the running game. But it feels like maybe we're gearing towards that where we're going to be doing short passes for running plays almost just because of the weapons we have at receiver.
Well, a couple of things. I like the fact that you brought that up. The quick game definitely helped out the offensive line protect a ton. When you're quick gaming, even if you do it 2 and 3 times and then on third down you drop back, what it does is this: as a rusher, those quick game rushes, it's still taking breath. You're like, dang, I'm losing energy because I'm rushing hard. Ball's coming out fast. Now I got to go chase. Now when it's time for you to drop back and it's time for you to have that good rush, you're a little winded. Those type of things help out a ton in terms of how you mitigate premier edge rushers like a guy like Bradley Chubb. That's how you do that. And that's ultimately how you protect your offensive line. Coach Simon talked about it. He said, going into the game that they're going to do things schematically to help those guys out, in particular Kevin Dotson, because it was his first start. But to me, I loved seeing that. I do think that for the running game to improve, though, the O-line has to get more movement up front. They still haven't been able to get that crazy movement like we're accustomed to seeing them do. And I think that's part of the reason why not only are they struggling on first down, but they're struggling on third downs as well, because they're getting behind the sticks early on. Now you're getting second and longs, and you're either playing the game of, all right, do I do the traditional screen or draw play on second down, which wasn't working because they just weren't in sync on their screens and draws. So now I'm looking at third and long, or on second and long, do I take a shot and try to get a chunk play to kind of throw teams off? But then if you don't get that, now you're sitting at third and long again. First down is the down that they have to do a lot better on, man. They've been struggling on it these first 2 games. I'm not sure why, because they have the athletes to create the spark plays, the X plays, plays 15 yards and plus. But for some reason on first down, they've been struggling. So look for them to get that cleaned up, because once they get that cleaned up and they can get into second and manageable, man, now you get the full gamut. Now you can really attack teams and utilize these weapons a lot more. When it's second and long, it's hard. You're putting yourself in a predicament, because it's like, all right, do I just take this play to get back to third and short or third and manageable, or do I try to get it all back at once? This is bad football. It's bad business. So if they can improve on first down, man, that I think they'll start to really tap into their full potential of really being that exciting offense that we know they can be, not just for a quarter, but for 4 quarters. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Second thing was Juju finishing off some of those runs, man. Like getting it, I think it was like 10 yards to go to get the first down. He'd get it with like 7 or 8 yards to go. Finish the run, stiff arm the dude. I think he did that. I think he did it twice. Yeah. Definitely twice. But man, I was impressed with that. And I think we talked about this a little bit off the mic. I think Juju might be finding his role in the offense in that slot with some of those short passes. Whereas then we have Deontay, who's the playmaker, the electric guy, and we're seeing Claypool step up as the downfield threat, a la Martavis Bryant. So I was impressed with that. And then I guess last thing with Dawson, did you see that video where Ben, he did the rollout. It was like, oh, vintage Ben. He threw the touchdown pass to Deontay, and then Dotson came rolling out, running. He was going to go upfield to block. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, Steeler Nation's, like, getting excited about. They're like, oh, man, this dude knows what's up. He's about to go out there and protect Ben. So that's another thing why people, I think, were I guess, proud of his game and kind of excited. I'm trying to think. Defense, I know you hit on a lot of things. I think we kind of hit everything coming into the game with our preview of what could concern us, because we held Fant in check for the most part the whole game, but then there was one drive where he was cooking Bush a little bit. I know he had something on Minka.
This is the thing with Fant. The game plan prior to Drew Lock getting injured would have been them featuring him. Because Drew got hurt when he did, Driscoll just didn't look like he was trying to feature Fant the way that Locke features him on tape. And it looked like it took to the fourth quarter for Driscoll to realize, oh, I got a weapon here. If I just throw him the ball, we're going to be fine.
So did he have more opportunities than we think? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Multiple opportunities. But the thing was, the rush mitigated some of it. It was times where he was open. The rush didn't allow Driscoll to see him. And then it was times where Driscoll was just looking other places. Whereas like with Locke, when you watch Locke on tape, Fant was his first option every time. He looks Fant first, and then from there he would go Judy, he would go Sutton, and go down the list of guys. Whereas with Driscoll didn't lock in on Fant until late in the fourth quarter, and then when he did, you saw the success that he was able to have. So that was the only thing with that. That was one of the matches we talked about going into the game, and Fant is as good as advertised. And I felt like if they would have featured him more, could have been a little bit different. But that's some of the stuff that the linebackers are definitely going to have to improve upon. Like you said, it wasn't just Devin. Minka had some of that as well, man. Yeah. Fant is a good tight end. It's the reason why he was a first-round draft pick, man. It's the reason why they love him in Denver. He's a good player, and he's going to continue to grow and get even better. It's just one of the matchups, man. It's one of those matchups.
Yeah, and then all the receivers, including Fant, they all had over 40 yards.
They had a ton of drops though too, man.
Yeah, they did. So it was like one of those things where they burned us here or there on some plays, but there was nothing that you felt like, oh wow, they're completely dominating us receivers versus cornerback, or receivers versus secondary.
But I do think a lot of that was due to the drops though. Yeah. Like prime example, 30 seconds left in the half, second quarter, 30 seconds left. It hits KJ in the chest. I think it was Steven Olsen jumps with him. I forgot who was next to him. But when you slow it down, it hits him in the chest. If he catches that...
It was that bomb, right?
Yeah, okay. On the right side of the field. If he catches that, he's on the 5-yard line. It's a totally different conversation. We talked about Judy and his drops throughout the game.
Yeah, he had a couple,
Judy,
right?
Hamler, Sutton, all those guys had drops in the game. And all their drops, especially the downfield ones, you're like, whoo. For me, that change, if those are completions, I think we're having a totally different conversation here about how we view the secondary right now. But because they were drops, you know how it is. It looks as it's incompletion.
That's the thing.
The yards don't give up. We're good to go. We talk about it in a very, very high and exciting manner.
I know you're hitting this point because I just kind of blocked them out. I'm not really recognizing it at all.
Like what I've seen from our secondary, the first two games, a lot of miscommunication on the back end. The touchdown to Noah Fant, the 7 route that he caught on Devin that everybody saw, it's miscommunication. It was a couple of those bunch routes. When we're talking about bunch formations, anytime you're getting 2 and 3 guys together in close proximity, that's a bunch route. That's a bunch concept from a formation standpoint, and they have certain routes out of it, and it puts a strain on the defense. It makes you have to say, okay, well, if we're in cover 3, how are we playing this? If we're in cover 4, how are we playing this? If it's man, how are we playing this? Each coverage has a different way that you're playing it. And right now, I feel like this is a product of no preseason as well. You can just see they're not as clean and crisp on the communication element of it. That's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from our secondary right now. But at the same time, I do feel like they are making the plays that are available. Joe Hayden getting the interception. That was off of what?
That's a drop. It was a drop. That was right in his hands.
It was off of a drop, but he capitalized on the opportunity. Anytime the ball has been around, how many times have we seen the
Mike
Steelers?
Hilton picking up the fumble.
Cam Hayward, first game when Bud forces the tip pass. We're seeing those balls aren't falling harmlessly to the ground on this defense. And that's the sign of a great defense. We would talk about that. I remember
4 or 5 years ago, we get pissed at that because some players in the secondary would drop it. And it's like, as much as you want to say, all right, these guys are on defense.
No, yeah.
And that could cost you a game,
And prime example, Number 23 for Denver. He drops the interception, and then look at how the rest of the game goes where they just attack him after that. It's multiple times where a guy's in position to make
I think we scored on that drive.
Yeah,
is that the Connor touchdown?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, but when you're on defense and you have opportunity to create a turnover, 9 times out of 10, if you miss that opportunity, typically the next play, the next drive, they're coming and they're hitting that play. They're scoring on it. And that's the signs of bad defenses. Whereas right now, anytime the ball has been around, whether it's on the ground or tipped into the air, the Steelers defense is finding ways to come up with it. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I still sit here and I'm encouraged, because I'm like, they're going to get the communication fixed. That's just, like I said, no preseason. It's going to take some time to get that fixed.
Well, that was something I wanted to ask you. You think it's just that, as opposed to our guys might have lost a step? Or we're not the same from last year? You think it's just more communication then?
No, I mean, you can look on the tape. If guys were just, okay, he has a man-to-man and he's cooking them, that's one thing. But what I'm seeing is, okay, these guys, I just knowing the defense, I know these 3 guys are working together. I see pre-snap talking, and then post-snap, I don't see the communication. And then at the end of the play, I see this guy looking at that guy and their hands are going back and forth. That's telling me that is communication. And that's why I said I'm encouraged. I'd rather be communication and technique, because from a technique standpoint, the 2-point conversion by Devin that Noah Fant got on Devin Bush, for example, that's not personnel. You don't think Devin is fast enough to run with Noah Fant across the field? No, that's a technique thing in terms of Devin. You already have inside leverage. Shuffle, stay square, roll with it, or create contact. You're within the 5 yards. Once he's dragging across like that, get 2 hands on him. It's a lot easier to cover him with your hands on him underneath, especially with the rush coming. But what does Devin do? Devin hops back for a second and allows Noah to have a clean release across his face. Now he's in a chase technique, very similar to what we talked about with the Giants guy against Juju, going across him and we say go behind or go in front. And he let him cross his face. Now he's chasing. Exact same scenario. Well, with football, man, it's very simple, but you have to do those routine things right every time. Otherwise, you're going to get beat like that. And that's the only thing that happened on the 2-point conversion. That's just one of those plays. That's fixable, though. That's not him losing a step. That's not him not being able to cover Noah. That's just detail your work a little bit more technique. And like I said, with some of the plays that I was seeing downfield, it was very similar stuff. It's like, all right, you play this right with the technique, man. You get hands on him early, that changes that whole route. If this guy's aligned here pre-snap versus right there, it's simple. Of 2 yards, whether you're on the hash, inside the hash, outside the hash, it's simple. But all 3 of those landmarks means different things. If you're doing that every time, man, it's a totally different ball game. That's why I'm just like, this is more just lack of preseason equals this right here. It equals when it's gray areas from a coverage standpoint when you're working with somebody. That's what you can't account for in practice. Practice, the coach staff are going to give you X amount of plays. You've already watched these plays on tape, so you already know what to expect. In the game, they're going to have wrinkles. In the game, they're going to do something you didn't see on tape. What are our rules, though? What do we talk about throughout the week? What did we talk about last time this happened to us? They're learning that on the fly right now, but they'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel good about it. Is there anything else? I got 1 or 2 things maybe.
Yeah, what else you got, man?
I think again. No, you go ahead, man.
I was going to talk special teams, man. I thought Deontay Johnson and Ray McCloud, man, They continue to flash, man.
Wow, yeah.
Shout out to them. I do want to say I think that now that we're seeing high level returning in both the punt and kickoff coverage, I mean both in punt and kickoff return, that changes the whole vibe of how we view special teams here. Like we'll sit here because Ray McCloud had a nice return on kickoff and Deontay had the punt return that got called back, and we'll say it was a great game by the special teams. Whereas in the past, the special teams could have played great, but because they didn't have any splash returns, we're over here like, man, Danny Swift is terrible, man. What's going on with special teams? It's all perception here, man. It's all perception. But for me, man, I thought that as a whole, though, the special teams unit has been playing well. Now, we still, and from a punt standpoint, got to get a little bit more consistent with that. But I was still impressed with the coverage units. I was impressed with the young guys on coverage.
Your boy Claypool.
Claypool got a tackle on kickoff, punt. He had Benny Snell had a tackle on punt. Dangerfield had another tackle. Like, just seeing that Derek Watt, another guy, like when you're seeing those young guys that, and when we're talking about young, I'm talking about Claypool.
Yeah, we even got that
Benny
safety.
Snell.
I mean, the dude fumbled it or whatever, but yeah.
But you got to make the play still.
Nice, yeah.
Like when you're seeing that, that's letting me know that these guys, not only are they committed to their position groups, but they're committed to the team winning, because special teams has zero to do with your position group. That's just want to. That's effort. That's you saying, look, man, I'm faster than you. I'm a better athlete than you. Special teams is all about who has the better athletes. That's all it is. It's scheme plays a role in it, but it's more so it's heavy personnel based. Whereas when it comes to like 11 on 11, a lot of times scheme outweighs more so the personnel element of it because you're using so many bodies. But man, with special teams, man, I thought that they've looked really good, man, these first 2 games thus far. And like I said, that anytime you get special teams points, should have been more points. It's a great day.
Talk about wavering and going back and forth and knee jerk.
Yeah.
Starting running back. Because last week, everyone's saying Snow. Now it's Connor. There's no doubt.
This is the thing. Connor played well, yes. Did Connor play to the point where he just eased all of our minds? No, but the problem is Benny Snell fumbled the ball.
It's a fumble, dude. If he didn't fumble, I think there'd be legit discussions today like, yo, we should be getting Snell the ball more.
Absolutely. We know, okay, they'll say for the stat people, oh, James had over 100 yards rushing. We saw 59 yards come on the last touch, and he should have scored. He was running to get tackled. As soon as he broke out, he was running to get tackled. Let's
think he did that on purpose? I don't know why he would do it on purpose.
So you answered your question then.
But there's a whole thing. You saw it with Chris Carson in the Sunday night game.
And we talked about that too. What was the purpose of that?
There was...
It was zero purpose.
I saw what he was trying to do, get the first down.
It was zero purpose.
Like in our game, I can't... All right, we scored that where all of a sudden we're up 2 touchdowns or 2 possessions now. I don't know how much time was it. It was within 2 minutes. It was like 1:30 maybe.
It was enough time. Clearly, it was an interesting finish for us, was it not?
Huh?
I say it still would have been an interesting finish. That's all I'm saying, bro.
You're saying it was a good idea for him not to score?
No, I'm saying he should have scored if he could have. I don't think he could have. It just didn't look like he had that gear that he needed. It looked like as soon as he got through the initial wave, he kept looking right, left. If he was trying to go down to save clock, he just went down. I mean, we've seen that before too. It's numerous times we've seen guys, that's a heads up play. Instead of going for the extra yards, he just dropped to save the time. Or is
that what people are saying right now? Because I know you did radio today. Or is that what people are saying? Because it looked like a combo. It looked like a combo.
It looked like, oh, yeah. He wasn't trying to score. Yeah, that's what it was. And another half is like, boy, who was on his back? Like, what was going on here? Because as soon as he hit, he was... Who's catching me? Somebody's about to catch me. I'm holding on to the ball. Who's catching me? Like, and for me, just watching him, and this is the thing, he just doesn't look the same in terms of like the explosiveness right now. Like,
even when he was gaining 5 or 6 yards at a time,
he had the pop, right? And he looked as if he was running to either not get hurt or he was running to not fumble. It was more so playing to not mess up instead of playing to ball out. I feel like that's the biggest difference right now when I'm watching James this year compared to how it was last year or even the year before that. Last year and the year before that, man, he was balling carefree. Like, I'm just being my best self. Whereas now it's like he's trying not to mess up. I'm trying not to get hurt. I'm trying not to fumble. I'm trying not to do this. And it shows. Whereas with Benny has fumbled. Now, granted, that I think the past 4 games or 5 games he's had a fumble issue.
You notice he was the one that punched it all the way out there. Because, like, he hit it loose a little bit. And then he goes to try to, like, put his arm over it.
And he punches it out.
Yeah.
The thing is with Benny, it's like Benny is running harder and running more carefree, but the problem is he's not detailing the work in terms of ball security. We're seeing the similar things with some of the receivers in terms of routine passes that if they look it in, they're catching it. They're just not doing the fundamental things right, the routine stuff right. But with Benny, that's his issue. It's more so, man, protect the ball. With James, though, it's like I'm starting to question, is it more personnel right now? Because through 2 games, even when he was healthy in game 1, it still hasn't looked the same just yet. So that's why, like, knee-jerk reaction, I'm still not even convinced that, is James and it's clear-cut James. I still feel like, man, he still needs to get back to looking like James. He doesn't look like himself right now.
Yeah, you don't really know what that's going to take. You don't know if it's a mental thing or whatnot.
Exactly, man.
Now, here's the thing. The interesting thing was Tomlin split carries this week, and it just wasn't that because it's what we've seen in the past with Tomlin where if he has a guy out there, he's just probably going to be rolling with you the whole time. So I'll be interested. I don't know. Like, it's the thing, like, you want to see Snow get more, but then it's like, I don't want to see a fumble either. Yeah. Because if we have Connor out there, or just even the running game in general, this is what I was saying whenever we were talking about the Steelers recap, I could see us really becoming this short passing, quick team where if we have 40, 50 yards on the ground, maybe that's what we're trying to do.
Well, and I was going to ask you, too, which one are you more concerned with? Benny Snell's ball security issues or Deontay Johnson's ball security issues? Because they both, honestly, got bad stuff on tape in their first 2 years, and it's not just a one-off.
Honestly, it's Benny Snell just because I feel like Deontay has more opportunity to make up for it. I think that's it, and it's I don't know. So what's this? Deontay fumbled on the punt return last week.
He had the fumble on the sweep today. Couple of drops both weeks.
I know. Yeah. That's actually tough. That's a good question.
Yeah, because honestly, I don't know the answer. I mean, because with Benny, he's gotten less opportunities, but he's still putting the ball on the ground, and that to me is a concern. But
I think with Deontay's, he recovered it. He messed up the punt one. That's maybe for some reason I'm separating special teams from his receiver rule.
I'm like, it's all.
I know. I get it. But I don't know. That's a good question. Actually.
To me, but I feel like they both have different issues in terms of how it's happening. With Benny, it's more so he's in a crowd trying to get extra yardage, and instead of saying those 3 to 5 yards aren't worth me 2 hands on the ball protecting it. Once he understands that, I think he'll be a lot better. With Deontay, it's more so the fundamentals of when the ball initially comes to him on the punt. We talked about staying square on it, making sure that the football is in your framework between your shoulders, making sure your elbows are tight together, stuff like that. Then when he's looking in routine passes, you can see the ball sitting in his hand and his eyes are already upfield. He's ready to make a guy miss. Look it in, see it home first, then go make that guy miss. But if you don't catch the ball first, it doesn't matter what move you got planned. So both guys are having issues with ball security, but 2 different situations in terms of how or why. One is post, you know what I mean? You already got the ball in your hand, fighting for extra, protect it. It's not worth it. The other is, bro, before you hit this move on this guy coming up, just catch the ball first. You look it in first. You do that part first. The rest is going to be fine because you got the juice. We know that. And I think that's the difference with both of them. Both of them definitely I'm concerned about, though, because it has shown that it's not just 1 or 2 games. It's showing that it wasn't just a 1-year thing. It wasn't a rookie year thing. This is something that has lingered over into year 2. So I definitely am starting to get a little bit uneasy about it, but it still is fixable because it's technique based, not personnel based.
What's weird is I think this one with Benny Snell was more egregious because we didn't get to see him play the whole game. Where I don't know how many carries he had. Was it like 4 or 5? But either way, you have 4 or 5 carries and one of them's a fumble. That's going to stick out way more than what he did last week, where he had an awesome game. He was a top 3 rusher in the NFL after it was all said and done. He had that one fumble. We obviously picked it up, but this one, it just feels that much more egregious, especially with the timing of it. It was like. We were up 12. That was the last thing we needed.
Yeah, Benny had 3 carries, 5 yards, obviously the fumble, but he never really got started like that.
Yeah, it's different if he was getting 20 carries yesterday and he somehow ends up with 120 yards and that was one of the fumbles. Like
it'll be like a Tiki Barber type vibe. Like, oh yeah, he still was good, but he fumbled, but it's good though.
Yeah, because that's how I feel about Deontay. Like he had an awesome game yesterday despite the fumble with the jet sweep. We obviously seen some of those punt returns.
Yeah.
The touchdown.
Yeah.
So
but then it's funny.
Forget about that jet sweep fumble.
We forget about the jet sweep fumble, but then we won't even mention how many times are we seeing the ball hit him in the hands.
Dude, the third down was big in the fourth quarter. Absolutely. It was 3rd and 7, 6 minutes left. We're trying to keep the drive
to me,
going.
I put all of that in there together. Like, it's not just it was just the jet sweep, everything else was good. It's like, no, it's showing up multiple areas, man. And that's the thing that to me is a little frustrating because we know how good he is. We know how good he can be, but he has to clean that up, man.